Hello everybody, my name is Snipers Fun and welcome you back to my part 2 of this current top 10 list, where I'm going to be discussing my top 10 favorite RWBY characters as far as volumes 1 through 4 are concerned so far, basically as far as what we know so far. If you guys have not watched part 1, as I've mentioned numerous top 10 lists in the past, I would recommend you watch that just so you kind of know first off the order of the list and what characters this list are, the higher part of the list, the lower part of the list. And also, I don't really want to spoil it for you because I might be talking about some of the characters I basically mentioned in part 1, numbers 10 through 6, that might be spoiling it for you. But like I've also mentioned in my top 10 lists in the past, you can watch this list whatever you want. If you want to watch part 2, then watch part 1 and watch it out of order, it's entirely up to you. I really don't care. I give it open free reign. You can do whatever the heck you want. Just enjoy my videos and give your insight in the comment section below and whatever the heck else you want to do. But I just wanted to basically mention that because I've mentioned that with all my top 10 lists, and I strongly recommend watching it in order just so you kind of get the idea what the list goes and don't get spoiled. But you can do whatever you want. We left off in part 1 with number 6 being Tyrion. Now, he is a special kind of crazy, and I basically mentioned all about my reasons why I like him as a character in part 1, so I'd recommend you watch that. Short synopsis of it, though. I like crazy villainous characters like the psychotic crazy lunatics, and Tyrion easily fits that category. You can go in part 1, see the rest of it. Let's get started with number 5. Crow Branwen. Uncle Crow. Crow, since his introduction in Volume 3, was such a freaking badass character, and he's just like that awesome uncle that looks out for his nieces, and quite frankly, he looks out for everyone else too, even his brother-in-law and whatnot. Is close. I'm assuming Tai Yang is like a brother-in-law, close friend to him, even if maybe Tai Yang doesn't really, see the same way. But Crow was such an awesome character, and we've heard about Crow since Volume 1. He was hyped up in Volume 1 and Volume 2. Like, Volume 1 basically heard from RWBY that she learned how to use her weapon from him, learned her fighting style from him, and then they basically, in the story in Volume 2 where Yang talked about how she carried RWBY out in the wagon, and then their uncle Crow saved them, we've heard about him constantly up until his introduction with Winter and Weiss in Volume 3, and he's just like that awesome character. He's the awesome uncle character that likes to get, he likes to drink a lot, and he's drunk and everything, and I guess that's part of his fighting style too, and we figure out about how he's like unlucky in Volume 4, and he's basically voiced by Edward Elric, and, or Broly too, or various other characters that Vic has done, and it's just like, he's such an awesome character. Like, he's like that awesome, and it's basically the same way of how I mentioned, like, Ozpin's awesome, like that awesome older character that's like an authority figure. But in this case, he's not just an authority figure, at least in terms that he was a teacher that taught RWBY and, and all that, but also, like, he's an older figure in terms of being a relationship to one of the characters. He's, RWBY and Yang's uncle, biological uncle of, like, Yang, but still close enough to basically being RWBY's uncle as well. It's just like that awesome, badass uncle that looks out for his nieces. And, like, his fight scenes have every single fight scene he's done has been awesome. Fighting Winter, awesome. The end of Volume 3, awesome. Tyrion, awesome. Everything about this guy has been awesome. And they literally made you worry and care about him. When he got poisoned by Tyrion in Volume 4, that he was going to die. Now, here's the thing. Eventually, Crow probably will die. Sad to say that, but he probably will. He's the type of character arc that basically will. But that's not going to happen yet because of how freaking popular he is. It's not going to happen yet until it's a major character part of the story. And it's not going to happen yet because they have freaking Vic voicing him. They're not going to get rid of him anytime freaking soon. But he's so awesome that it doesn't really matter. And I want to see more of this character. And he's freaking Crow. Done. That's number 5. Number 4. Blake Belladonna. The next member of Team RWBY. I have another member in part 1. I don't really want to spoil it for you. But Blake is so awesome. her fighting style is awesome. Her character type, like being that like almost loner character that doesn't want to hurt her friends or her family or so, and just she doesn't want to get anyone else involved. That's kind of a cool character type that I kind of like to some extent. And then she's opening up more now through volumes like 3 and 4 and 2 to some extent. Like being the cat faunus, Nico, cat girl type stuff. A lot of people probably like her for that. It's kind of on my list. It's not number 1, but just being like a cat girl is kind of awesome. I don't know. I like characters. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, where I like characters that are like, you know, usually like part animal or part some sort of creature or so. And quite frankly, cats probably high up there because I do like cats, even though I'm kind of allergic to their fur. But yeah, like she's just like such an awesome character. And now we finally into seeing how far they did like the technology now, where how they animated Volume 4, and seeing her emotions with her cat ears. That especially made the like part of the volume for me. Because now they can do that now. She doesn't have the bow, and you can see her emote more, which actually I think added to her character a lot more, because you see more emotion from her because of, you know, the extra ears and everything. Like, and she's just such an awesome character. And she's her fighting style I like, and seeing her go forward, like seeing her fights in volumes 1 through 3, like during the tournament and, you know, the festival, and like against like Torchwick on the train and everything. It was pretty freaking awesome to see. And she is my 3rd favorite, as of now, member of Team RWBY, although she has a high chance of going up higher if she becomes even more awesome. And I like, and depending on how the volume goes and how much of a fan I kind of gravitate to her going forward. But as of now, she's my number 3 on the list. And that's about it for Blake, because now we're on to number 3 on the list, going from number 3 favorite RWBY member to number 3 on the list. So that is going to be Ruby Rose. Now this is where the list kind of like, and I mentioned this with my top 10 lists before. Sometimes the numbers can be interchangeable a little bit too. Like Ruby and Blake are kind of interchangeable. Like I like Blake more in some things, but I like Ruby a little bit more in other things too. As of now, I'm going to say Ruby is a little bit higher, but Blake's like right there below her. So these two positions could be easily interchangeable. But Ruby is a favorite character in Team RWBY, obviously being the main character and the major member of the Team RWBY team. Because I just kind of like her personality. I like she's that childish character. Like it's essentially a Goku character or a Luffy character. You know, something like where it's like they're semi-childish. They can get serious, but they have that childish nature about them. She's still the youngest member of the team. She doesn't understand everything about the world of Remnant and whatnot. But it's like, you know, that character that like she's not like super bright or super, you know, in on everything, but she wants to fight. She has the heart to fight and protect people and be a huntress and stuff like that. And she can be goofy sometimes. Case in point, the whole Pumpkin Pete thing in the beginning of Volume 4, I really like that scene. And everything else, like during the dance and everything. And just like she could be like this super like young cutesy girl that, you know, you don't think could be so awesome, and then she gets on the battlefield and she'll wreck you. Yeah, that's RWBY for you. And that's about it for RWBY. That's number 3. Here's number 2. Roman Torchwick. If I guess I mentioned with Tyrion, one of my favorite type of villain characters is the crazy lunatic. I also like the very the suave villain-esque, like knows what they're doing, businessman type, thief type, whatever arc, whatever kind of, you know, type of character arc, character type you can give the Roman. I like that kind of villain as well. And Roman was so damn entertaining in this show. Whenever Roman was on the screen, I always was kind of entertained with what he was doing. During Volume 1, his introduction with Dust Shop, fighting RWBY, you see him fight the dock, and Volume 1, Volume 2, the fight on the train, and him planning up, and how he interacts with Emerald, and Cinder, and Mercury, and everything, and the White Fang, like the fight at the end of Volume 3, where he died. He was such an awesome character during Volumes 1 through 3. It's sad to see him go, unless they say he's dead, and quite frankly, he's going to be dead, but he's going to kind of live on through RWBY Chibi, and when we finally get Neo back, they're probably going to do a flashback on how she knows him and how they know each other. So technically, he's still going to be in the show at some point during like a flashback or something. But it's kind of sad to see him go now because he was such a badass, awesome villain. He's my favorite villain, which can give you the fact that my number one's not a bad guy, but Torchwick is awesome. And before we get to my number one, like always, I'm going to be going through a few honorable mentions for characters that, while I'm a big fan of, they just barely missed the mark on this top 10 list. They're all cool characters in their own right. Some of them could have easily been on the list. Quite frankly, the last like 3 or 4 were super, super, super highly possible for this list. Like, it was hard to kind of put the list together. Like, the last 3 to 4 on my honorable mentions are going to be ones that like were this close to making it to the list. But all the characters I like in the honorable mention list, and they just barely missed the mark. Velvet, because she's the badass bunny girl that takes her weapon, and at the end of Volume 3, when we finally got the reveal of her being able to take pictures and use all her freaking weapons, she was such a badass, and she destroyed everything, and she's cute, and she's awesome, and she's freaking Velvet. And I want more Velvet in the show. Neptune, because it's kind of like the cool, like, semi-comedic character with an awesome like action character, because he has like a nice fighting style using like his, it's kind of a trident in a way, which is kind of weird, interesting because his name is Neptune. It turns into a gun, and the whole Fair of the Water thing, like the correlation with his name is kind of funny. I can kind of relate. Quite frankly, I don't know how to swim, so I don't know if that's his reasoning or not, but it kind of is interesting to see that. Flint, because awesome jazz musician fighting style. Like, it was one of my favorite fights of Volume 3, and quite frankly, one of my favorite fights of the entire freaking series so far is the Team Funky fight. So, yeah. Ironwood, because he is really, really awesome. Like, he can just wreck you. And being half robot, he must have seen some fighting in his time, being like the headmaster of, the Atlas Academy and their military and all that stuff. So, yeah, it's like Bruce Wayne if he was Batman all the time, and everyone knew it. He was Bruce Wayne. Penny being the awesome robot girl that pretty much was one of my favorite characters in Volumes 1 through 3, and it's sad to see her go as well. That moment was really quite sad. Winter, Weiss's older sister, because it's freaking Winter. She was like that awesome older sisterhood character that I really want to see more of her backstory on, see more of how much of a character she is, especially in correlation with, now we legitimately know Jacques. Once we know freaking Mrs. Schnee, we'll know everything about the freaking Schnee family, pretty much, and why they're all messed up. Jean, because I really like that, like, comedic character that's like the weakling, the weakling character that pretty much doesn't amount to anything at the beginning of the series, but you all know he's going to be a complete badass and really freaking awesome later on. And they're building Jean up so much that he's going, once he gets his semblance and everything, he's going to be freaking awesome. Tai Yang, the loving father that cares about both his daughters, and quite frankly, his introduction at the end of Volume 3 and everything with training Yang and whatnot in Volume 4. He's pretty much one of the only few caring family members in this freaking series that we know of so far. Yeah, Tai Yang was the first of, like I said, it's the final 4 actually. Jean was really close to being on this list, as was Tai Yang. Neon was super freaking darn close, because like I mentioned with Flint, I loved the Team Funky fight, and she was so awesome. And my last honorable mention is Kali, Blake's mom, because it's like the only, and everyone, RWBY fans said this, it's like the only caring mother figure we so far know in this show, because we don't know Miss Schnee, but if she's not showing up this much, she seems to not be the biggest caring mother figure. Summer is gone, and Raven is gone. And she was so awesome. I loved her personality, seeing how she reacted to the sun and Just all the crazy, weird stuff that the whole family drama, family comedic stuff that happened with Blake's family in Volume 4. And that's it for my honorable mentions. We are at number 1. Drum roll, please. My number 1 favorite RWBY character as of now, volumes 1 through 4, and because she has not shown up on this list yet, a lot of you RWBY fans out there probably know who the heck it is. It is Yang Xiaolong. I am such a big fan of Yang, which goes to show you that pretty much my number in part 1, my least favorite as of now, and I say least favorite because, not that I hate her or I don't like her, but she's my least favorite member of Team RWBY would be Weiss. I didn't want to spoil it for you, but now I spoiled it for you, because Yang is my number 1, because I like her so much. She is, the older sister that looks out for her younger sister. She, actually, quite frankly, she kind of looks out for Weiss and Blake as well. She tries to stand up and protect everyone else. She has that awesome fighting style, fists with her gauntlet hand things, resemblance, and getting angry and going Super Saiyan. And I really like her song "I Burn." It's one of my favorite RWBY songs. Her trailer was awesome, and every fight she's practically been in has been awesome, which quite frankly goes back to why I talked about Flint and why I talked about Neon, because Team Funky's fight is one of my favorite fights in the entire series. And she's part of the reason for it, especially the banter between her and Neon. She's just like that awesome, badass character, and I was such a fan of hers. And even in Volume 4, people don't like that she... And here's the thing of people. She did not get over her whole losing her freaking arm thing yet. It kind of seems that way because Volume 4 did not really focus a whole lot on her. And like I mentioned back in my predictions, I didn't assume she was going to be a major focus in Volume 4. The day after pretty much Volume 3 ended, I did not assume she was anywhere near going to be a major focus. That's going to come back to haunt her. But even in Volume 4, it seemed like character development, like she had to get over, move on from losing half her arm, and now she's going to go forward and she's going to have to learn how to get used to that. And the whole PTSD of losing her arm is going to really especially come back when she gets back into fighting and when she meets Adam again. But even then, she's still an awesome character. And in Volumes 1 through 3, she was like the badass of the series. And she's really freaking awesome. It's freaking Yang. And that's it for my top 10 favorite RWBY characters as of now, volumes 1 through 4. This list could very well change coming up really soon with RWBY Chibi, with RWBY Volume 5 at the end of the year, future volumes of 6, 7, 8, whatever. And like I basically mentioned, I think I'm going to do an updated version of this list in about a year or so, like maybe not after Volume 5, but maybe around Volume 6 or something. Because then we're going to start getting more characters introduced, and I'll start seeing new characters on this list in a newer light, and particularly with new characters coming in, some of the characters that probably are gone, Torchwood, sad to say, might be pushed out of the list for new people. And that's about it. That's my list. I hope you guys liked this video. Put in the comment section what you guys think. What do you guys think of my top 10 favorite RWBY characters? What ones do you agree with? What ones do you disagree with? Who are your favorite RWBY characters? Like I said, put in the comment section below. We can discuss it there, have fun as RWBY fans. And that's my list. I hope you guys liked this video. Peace. Please subscribe if you want to. Have a lovely day. I'll see you all later in my next top 10 list. And I'll see you all later in my next RWBY theories, predictions, speculations, so on and so forth. Any other lists that might have to do with RWBY. And every other freaking video I'm going to be doing on my freaking channel. And I'll have a nice day. See you all later.